bottom of this list, we'll put this girl. Now, for those of you that don't know, maybe you skipped Fate Update, maybe you're a noob or whatever, this is a Magic Hill Rose. So this character costs 1,000, and she's so cheap that you can place down all 5 and get them all to their correct final upgrade. Not like max, but final upgrade. And toast Fate portals by herself. And then, so Fate is still around. And then on top of that, she's just, there you go, a cheap hill to handle the flying. So whatever levels you're doing, whatever your main DPS is, if you have her, she toasts the flyers. So if you don't have the actual meta hill, her being a magical really helps with stuff like, let's say we're doing a daily challenge. She's your magic hill if you need cheap ones. And then the fact that you can AFK most stories or even most infinites with this character as your hill, it just goes to show how powerful this unit is. Because some hills come as early as wave 5 or 6. You never really know. So you need a hill, and she fills this role amazingly. And because there's no magic hill stronger than her, she is a must-have unit. Because if you have her right now, you can toast Fate. She's your best hill option that doesn't involve too much of a harder grind, which we'll get into the other one in a second. But she's that girl as of right now. Next on there, and we'll just go ahead and put Conan next, believe it or not. Conan is actually the best hill in the game. The reason why I'm putting them at the bottom of must-have is because hills aren't super credential to have, and Conan also not only is the strongest hill in the game, but she's also a Naruto unit. So since there's a Naruto update, you bring her to these, and even unevolved she can solo, like a lot of these if you have some decent ground damage. So she's even more sought after than the Fate character, but it's a hill unit, and a cone too. So the main course that people really care about aren't these hills, despite you needing them, and they're very important to have, but I'm not going to let them overshadow the strongest shit in this game. Next, we're going to go to another must-have unit, and that is Usopp. Usopp is only better than them, because if you master Usopp, you have a true damage unit for castle, so you can climb even masters if you got a good trait on somebody else, and Usopp will handle the strays with his true damage. And then his damage, it's starting to fall. Don't get me wrong, it's starting to fall. But since he's becoming more of a just your hill unit, it's $3,000 to basically place like 9 traps, and you can put them in the complete back and continue the farm. So like the best strat you can do with gaining somebody as early as Usopp is like forget the grind of it, but like getting him, it's like place whoever you need to do to take care of the actual runners and the guys on the ground. And then when the hills come, place Usopp as far back as you want and let him place down like 9 traps. And on base stats, it should be good enough. And then when heavier hills come, if you want to drop a extra like 4,000 yen, which you should be farming this whole time so you have it, to toast any extra birds or anything like that. Again, it's falling off, but for right now, he's a infinite castle meta unit. He's good in almost everything, like daily challenge, not necessarily Halloween or infinites, but definitely like shorter games. He's amazing, and then even in the longer ones, it's good insurance. Rather than placing your hill and upgrading it to whatever it needs to do, you can just let Usopp set up and ignore it. But you got to be good. Next on the list, we got... we're getting to the really nitty-gritty stuff. So let's go ahead and talk about these units. I didn't want to scale them too high, but I'm going to go ahead and put them side by side because they essentially do the same thing. I was going to put them higher for the noobs, but not all of you guys are noobs here today. So I'll just say, the reason why these guys are meta is because you don't need to buy the battle pass. So you're guaranteed these units. So if you've fallen behind at all, or you don't have the ability to grind these later hills, you're given a hill for free, and then this guy's hybrid. I put him a little lower, even though he can be better as like your ground damage. But the reality is, once you get this girl as a hill cooking, he can be your ground damage, but if you already have a ground damage, she'll just take over for your hill. She can get up to like 200,000 and like 50 range. She's very solid. Starts out at a rectangle, and then I've seen his stats. He gets up there too, but these two only really matter if you are a noob. You don't have access to any of these, especially if you're starting out or took a break. These two units are must-haves because if your hill is behind, you need her. If you don't have a decent hybrid, like you missed Poseidon or whatever, you should grab Yumo or whatever his name is. And then all you have to do is just play Anime Adventures till level 50. So it's just like play your dailies every day. And you'll get guaranteed super, super solid units that you can bring almost to anything. I wanted to put them at the tippity top, but we won't. Next, we got, I guess, the more leash stuff that you're not going to see in every tournament or damage. I'm going to go with Shantir. She's power. She's the new power. I don't know how power's value in trading didn't drop to 0. The only problem with this character is you have to grind Overlord. Grinding Overlord is ass, okay? And even though it's cheeks to grind that, she is the meta bleed amplifier. The thing that she does, guys, is the fact that you can also give her damage makes it so that placing her, like I remember one tournament, you could do Guts and her, and you needed her instead of power, otherwise you couldn't get that strong start. She places for almost 4,000. So it's like, she amplifies his bleed, but in addition to that, she's no slouch on damage. So if you have any extra dough, you can actually have her amplify stuff. The problem is, obtaining her is a bit of a chore, but it's a lot easier than trying to trade for power at this point. But power still does what she does, but she is the current bleed meta unit. Like, she helps out the bleed characters, whichever ones you're using, or whatever ones to come. That's why she's a must-have, because until they make a better bleed amplifier, you need her for tournaments or any other modes that you're doing that you have a bleed unit and you need help that doesn't involve CC, because she'll just make the bleed longer. Okay, next, let's go with, look at the puppy. This one's hard because these guys have the best damage in the game, but they're not perfect in everything. So I'll go ahead and set up this. Oshi's next. Oshi is a must-have, and she's amazing on almost every team you put her on. But she's not a tournament character every single time. And she sometimes can be too costly to bring to daily challenges and stuff. So the thing is the things that she brings to the table, especially since you just need to go to the banner and grab a mic and you're done, or if you happen to get her from like a trade or something like that because she's like low value, she will turn your farm game and the damage that your team is doing better. And make it cost less too, but you have to invest in mid-game waves. So it's kind of like a situation where she bumps up your early game for nothing, but by mid-game it's a little bit rough, and then she circle back by late game. And in key metrics like Infinite Castle, Daily Challenge, and stuff like that, it can work, but it also can be a detriment. So you have to make sure your stuff is already cooking. So she can be a winning more, or she can be a support unit to where you don't have to invest too much money for her to give aid to your entire squad. So she is a almost blanket support to your team in general. So she is a must-have. but you have to learn how to use her with cross and everything. She's not that hard to evolve. Moving on. The next one, we're just going to have to go with damage, guys. This is rough to do. These are all good. Let's go Jiah next. Jiah is a must-have. Okay, to anybody scratching their heads, Jiah is on the bottom. Jiah is on the bottom. On the lower end of these higher tiers because, even though he costs 1,500 and he has like the biggest AOE for slows, there's an argument that can be made for another slow, and Jiah has yet to be featured in a tournament yet because of his specific typing. So it's like, overall, Jiah is going to be cooking just like as hard as Amelia, but he does have a tech tree of refrigerator hitbox to AoE, and then he finally gets to a cone. And the cone is really like narrow in the front. So if you want to put anything into his power, he's better than Amelia because he hits 4 times as harder, and you can even put stuff like nail or whatever on him. But his upgrade tree is a little clumsy, and you do have to be as strong as Naruto era. So, like, people that are caught up with the current metagame, you need to grab him for what's to come. But the other slow has something that Jiah doesn't have. And I'll get into it when we get to it, but you should definitely snipe this guy. Because we don't know. His damage gets up to 200,000. And especially if the tournament's ground only, he's going to be better than the other one. But for right now, the other one is better. It will change, but we're waiting on the metagame. As of right now, Jiah is an investment. I know. He's an investment, though. You would have to place him in a weird corner on a specific map. Like, I'm even thinking stuff like JoJo maps. And just upgrade the front and the front, because you're going to need the rest to go to damage. And then even JoJo map. I know. That's what I'm saying. Potentially he's better, but as of right now, the other one is better for a few reasons. And I'll get to it when we get to him. Well, actually, we can just say it. They're side by side. That's how comparable they are. Cochin's better, if you ask me. Right now, he is the one you use in tournament, not Jiah. And it's because he's hybrid. He's multi-hit hybrid. And he goes up to 80% slow. I've seen it. I have it. Amelia's a whole tier down, dude. Look. Jiraiya's above her. Anyway, Cochin better. Cochin is better just because it's a major slow, can hit air, and like the multi-hit expels a relic with it. Cochin can kind of carry early game while also maintaining early game's crowd control. Jiah doesn't have those options. Jiah would seem more like I'm slowing only, and in the late game, I'm controlling the entire map. Which is really valuable if you can get it off. But in the current strategy, that's not as valuable because he doesn't hit air, and they get airs very, very early. So rather than committing to a hill, especially in something like this one was like a short range. So Jiraiya's range is nerfed. But in the next tournament, potentially, when range isn't nerfed, his valuable slow could be better. But it really depends on what map we're getting next. So potentially better, but as of right now, Cochin is the slow. This may change in an update, but anything of this could change. Any new unit or whatever. So as of right now, Cochin is the better slow. In my opinion. Next, we're going to go with... this is rough. I'm going to go with Gilgamesh next. Yeah, Gilgamesh. Gilgamesh is next. I'd love to put him higher because of the upgrade 5 hybrid and his explosive damage, but the other ones are really crazy. I'll get into it when we're there, but Gilgamesh hits like a bus. It sucks that you have to pay 2,000 to place him, and his square is a bit awkward. So he kind of more seems like a play extender slash finisher, rather than somebody that completely takes a hold of the entire game. However, in almost anything, especially with him having a Halloween skin, he's a must-have on teams. Before this event ends, you need to get one. You don't get one. If you don't get one, you won't have a light magic, one of the strongest light magics in the game that gets an AoE, or not a full AoE hybrid, just a circle AoE. So he doesn't even get neutered by armors. So he's like one of the strongest units in the game. In fact, if you go off my list, he's like top 4. You could say top 3, but we're almost there, guys. So Gilgamesh is top. Like, don't miss him. There's only a few things that are weaknesses for him, and then the pros really outweigh the weaknesses. And he's been in most of these tournaments because of his light attribute, and magic with timepiece is really solid. But on to the next set of guys. We have Guts beating him. I'm going to put Guts above Gilgamesh. And the reason for that is Guts is a banner. And his bleed is more solid for like a lot of the situations that come up. Bleed is a thing that helps out with regeneration. It helps out with the fact that like he's full AoE hybrid. So he is hitting airs as well with this. And they have no... Yeah, he's the best bleed unit in the game as of right now. And he's a physical fire. He's the one that I said about all the other physical fires in the game as being that guy. He's a tournament meta unit. And he's a unit that no matter what you bring him to, the only con, just like Gilgamesh, is when you place him. He just kind of fumbles a little bit at the beginning. But as long as you are mechanically gifted with both of these units, you can circumvent that weakness into a strength. So you do have to play around them a little bit. There's a little bit of a skill ceiling. But for the most part, he's the guy that you need to get for tournament stuff. If anything, these are the guys that you want uniques on. Maybe Sid if you want to do like Infinite Castle. But these guys have the longevity and the attributes to cook for a while. And speaking of cooking for a while, I don't see this guy leaving the meta game as long as Itachi. And Sasuke is the strongest ground unit in the game. There is nobody better than Sasuke in ground damage. You have to get him. You have to get him, and you have to get Mangekyo. You have to. This unit is not going anywhere until we get well, we already have, this is Eternal, but maybe until we get Sharingan, this unit's not going anywhere, and they are top 3. This is like the strongest ground. These are the strongest units that you need to have on your team, but the value that these next 4 are going to have circumvents it. This looks the prettiest, so I guess I'll put the CCs under them, but Sasuke is the strongest character in the game. The only problem with Sasuke is you do need the relic to have him cook, so he's not out of the box. He is out of the box, kind of correct. But it does take a while before he becomes peak. Once you get there, he's better than all of them. And the other problem is you do have to wait. There are situations where, just like Caesar, what I said earlier, you do have to wait for the burn to tick. You might need to place another Sasuke to make so the early game goes okay. So it's better to spam like 4 of them or something. So he's a lot better as like an infinite / tourney unit rather than bringing him to every story. Because other stories, the other unit's placement damage is just going to kill everything. But he is the best because of those attributes and the longevity that these 3 have. Next on the list, I'm going to put Law. Now, these units right here, I only say are better is because Law has Room. Room is a lot bigger of a CC than something like Knockback Pain. It's just something that, especially on your own when you have to do solo tournaments with curses and stuff, it's just something you need. And like it can make it so that you win games that you shouldn't have won. It can be comboed with stuff like Usopp, or even make it so that your actual damage cooks the thing that should have got away. And then he has multi-hit, so if you combo it with like relics like Mermaid Crown, was it Shield Reduction or whatever, you can make it so that Law multi-hits away all of the magical protection, thus giving these other units some time to shine. But most of the time, it's just you place him to make it so that you can live a little bit longer in anything, whether it's a daily challenge, infinite, Halloween. He does have a Halloween skin as well. And in tournament. Like, he's just a must-have until we get another Law. Because this is just Rosa Law, so maybe we'll get Wano Law. But for right now, he's the only room setter in the game, and you just need him for so much stuff. I wouldn't say his longevity is crazier than Sasuke's, because Sasuke's got damage, but Sasuke's not for every tournament, being a ground only. Guts isn't for every tournament, and then Gilgamesh is questionably tournament. Law's good in everything. There isn't a thing that Law can't do. Next, yeah, really it's the buffs are the best in the game, but we'll just do it like this. Orwin and Leafa are the same tier, as well as Wendy, whichever ones you're using. The reason why Leafa's just better is because Leafa can actually do damage, where Wendy can't. Orwin can't do damage, but he's the only physical buff we got in the game. You need these units. You need these units, and you need to know how to curse cycle with them. You need them fingies, and you get the correct curses on them so you can properly buff in tournaments, in regular stories, and play, and infinites. You need them. They're must-haves on teams. You can make a team that's just one hill, one ground, one Oshi, one Bulma, and then these two buffs on whatever your teams are. Whether it's one buff because you're only doing magic, one buff because you're physical, whatever it is. And they will turn your units into double the strength. So whatever damage Sasuke was doing, or Guts, or Gilgamesh, or whatever, double it. Double it. That's why you need them. You need... Leafa's better for like tournaments and stuff like that. But if you got Wendy instead, that's fine. But you're kind of a bum. And last but not least, what Lon considers the strongest unit in the game. That's right. I said it before her value went up in the trade list. I'll say it now. She carried me through SAO up until now. The only reason why you don't see her on my Naruto team is because I want max boost, but I still use her in Halloween. She does have the fit. This unit is insane. I will never stop glazing Homuru and emphasize the fact that she is one of the craziest units they've ever made. And I don't know how it took people months to figure that out. This unit, on placement, is a time freeze. But no, it's not a global cooldown. You can place 3 of them, and you can sell and replace them. You're at the mercy of the game's diminishing returns. Like, you have to wait for the snowflake. Not the other way around. So it's all up to your money. You're at the mercy of the game, not at the mercy of the character. That's how much utility she has in her CC alone. But no. It gets better. She starts at a multi-hit. You can equip her with either Nail or Vein, and she will cook. So it doesn't matter which one of the 2 relics, or you can go relicless. But oh no, it gets even better. Because these multi-hits just shred every level. SAO's running shields. What is it called? Yeah, dude, yeah, 5-leaf clover. She just cooks everything in this game. But I could stop there. The thing is, though, is you can use her on Infinite Castle. You can use her on Tournament. She's a tournament meta character. She's not in every strat, but 90% of the time she's on the team. She's probably used for Infinite Leaderboard, right? When Dio isn't used, they probably shut it all off. You need her in Halloween. She's useful in Fate Portals. She's useful in Bungo. And then to top it all off, you get her to upgrade 7, and she's hitting airs as well as a time stop cooldown. That as long as you don't fuck with the curses, guys, as long as you don't touch it, you're getting a time freeze on diminishing returns on everything in proximity to her. Everything. She does not miss. There's not a single thing she misses. She's that good. And there you have it. There's the tier list of anime adventures and what you should be gunning for, what you shouldn't be. Feel free to say what your thoughts on it are, guys. I think this is a really solid list. This is the Naruto update list. The next update's coming. I will go into the next set of units on time, and hopefully we can grow as a community with knowledge on these characters, because I've been playing for a while.